Hey, good morning. It's Darcy Loma, and I'm so thrilled to be back here with you today for our Facebook Live video. I want to start by saying thank you to the hundreds of people, some weeks thousands, who have watched the videos and commented to me by sending emails or comments in the Facebook feed, or sent a LinkedIn comment, or told me at church or at the grocery store how valuable you're finding them, and how they're helping you to be more intentional in your own life. And that's the whole purpose that I have for these Facebook Live videos, is to help bring this new model that I've created, this thoughtfully fit model, to life for you, hopefully in a meaningful way. And being thoughtfully fit isn't necessarily about big things in your life, about running a marathon or quitting your job and becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business. It looks like the cat got a little bored. Or about getting out of a relationship that's struggling. It's more about how you live your daily life and looking at those obstacles. Sometimes they're mental and emotional obstacles, and sometimes they're real external obstacles, conflict with other people, tensions. It's about being able to be thoughtful and intentional and mindful in how you live your life and in your relationship with others. And when you do that, there's less emotional energy that is taken, and that leaves you then more space to do those big things, to put energy towards starting your own business or doing your first triathlon, whatever it might be. And so each week I come to you and I try to think about, my team has challenged me to just show up in the moment and speak from the heart, which for me is really hard. I am a planner. I do keynote speeches. I do a lot of training and workshops. Yesterday I did a whole day workshop for a statewide bank. Their leadership team was about 50 people, about balanced conversations and how to balance your wants and needs with someone else's wants and needs. And when I do these things, I prepare. I create PowerPoint slides, I create an outline and a script, and I rehearse. Well, for these Facebook Live videos, they've challenged me to just show up and to share with you struggles that I have had in my own life, stories of my clients. What I'm amazed at is how often my life coaching clients, my executive clients, bring to me problems and issues that I deal with in my own life. And so I'm doing that today and sharing something with you that's really personal, in the hopes that maybe it'll speak to some of you. And last week was the anniversary of the death of my dear, dear, dear friend and my college roommate, Tasha. So let me just set the stage here for you. Tasha and I met in the summer of 1989 in Germany. We were both Rotary Exchange students. She was from Canada, I was from Minnesota, and we could not have been more opposite. I mean, literally completely opposite. I was signing up for every single extracurricular activity, German class, rowing, the class trip to London, all of that, making German friends, practicing my German, refusing to speak English. And she was a party girl. She was drinking and smoking and hanging out, skipping school. And so needless to say, I would see her at these events that the Rotary Exchange Club would put on for all of the exchange students who happened to be in the same city in Oldenburg, Germany that year. And I always liked her, but we never really got together because we were just so different. Well, about halfway through the year, Tasha got in trouble. Now, I have thought long and hard about, for years, literally, about Tasha's death and her story, and whether or not I can share it. And it's finally time. She died April 6, 2011. It's been 6 years, and I can finally talk about it without breaking down. And I've done years and years and years of therapy and journaling and processing to try to have some new awareness about about Tasha and her life and her death. And so I'm going to share with you some details that are pretty personal. And I've talked to Tasha up above, and she's really supportive of that in service of really helping others. If you have struggled with depression or anxiety or addiction, or you have someone in your life who has. So having said that, Tasha, I don't know, it was probably maybe about halfway through the year, November or December, and Tasha got in trouble. She actually spent the night with a bunch of U.S. Army soldiers who were there, and when they checked out of the hotel, there was blood on the sheets. And they tracked down her through her credit card or reservation and contacted her host family and Rotary, and they were so angry with her. The rules for Rotary are no drinking, no dating, no driving, no drugs. I think she had probably broken all 4 of them. After becoming friends with her, I also broke many of them. Oh, anyway, that's another story. So Rotary decided they were sending her home. They said, that's crossed the line, you're out. And she pleaded with them and pleaded with her host family to stay. And they talked about it and had a conference and ultimately decided she could stay if she met some certain conditions. And one of them was that she could not be friends with the other exchange students who she was partying with and getting into trouble with, and that she could only be friends with me. Well, I didn't know that when I got the call from her one Saturday morning saying, do you want to come over for tea? I'm like, Tasha, this is Darcy. And she's like, yeah, I want to know, would you like to come over? And I said, well, I'd love to come over. Are you sure? And she said, yeah. Well, that started this, lifelong friendship. Tasha just, we were so good for each other. I was able to introduce her to some activities that were maybe more positive, and she loosened me up. I remember after we became friends, we went into class one morning and we got into math class and we looked around, and in Germany in our class, the desks were always in a U shape. Well, we got there that morning and they were all in a row. And Tasha looked at me and she's like, there's a test. I said, oh, okay. She's like, let's go. And I said, where are we going? Well, we left. We walked to town and went to McDonald's and got French fries and a beer. In Germany, you could order beer, even at 18 at that time. And we skipped school. I can guarantee you that I had never skipped school. Not only had I never skipped school before that, it would never even have occurred to me. I had so much fun with Tasha. I remember one day we took a city bus to a party. And it was probably 9:30 at night, and we took the bus number 14, and we got to the end of the line, and the bus driver says, okay, everybody out. And we're like, what do you mean? We're not at the party. He's like, I don't know, but this is the end of the line. Next bus will be here in about 90 minutes. So we got out, and we're in the middle of this field, in the middle of the country in Germany. And so we had 90 minutes to spare. Of course, there's no cell phones at that time. And so what do you think we did? Well, what else? She taught me how to smoke. I will never forget it. So needless to say, we became really close. And at the end of the year, I said to her, so what are you doing next year? And she said, oh, I'm going to college. Now, she was from Canada and I was from Minnesota. And she said, I'm going to college at a small school in Wisconsin. You'll never have heard of it. And I said, what? I'm going to Wisconsin. I'm going to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Well, wouldn't you know it, we were both going to UW-Eau Claire. So our friendship continued and grew, and we were roommates, and we continued for 22 years to support each other through so many fun occasions. We were in Cancun, and I'd go visit her in Toronto. She'd come to Minnesota or to Eau Claire or to Madison to visit me. We went to the spa, Sundara Spa, many times, and we supported each other and had fun. Well, as we were in our friendship throughout these years, Tasha would regularly disappear, and she'd get into a really deep funk and a deep depression. And I'd reach out to her for months and I'd hear nothing. She'd drop off the face of the earth. Her friends would call me and say, have you heard from Tasha? I'm like, I've heard nothing. Sometimes we'd call her work and check in on her and make sure she was okay. Sometimes we'd call her dad. After her mom died in 2000, unexpectedly from a car accident, Tasha really started to go downhill even further, and she'd have these bouts of depression. And I remember after one time visiting her, I got really worried about potential drug use. Now, she wasn't using drugs in front of me, but I felt like she was acting differently. And I remember I got back to Madison and I called the drug hotline and I said, I need help. I need to understand, and I need you to tell me what I can do to help my friend who I think has a drug addiction. And in a nutshell, well, it was much more nuanced than this. The essence of their message was, well, they first asked me, does she want to recover from her addiction to drugs? Does she have any interest in this? And I said, well, I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think so. I don't know. And the essence of their message was, then, you know what? It's, there's nothing you can do. This is her battle. You can support her. You can tell her you love her. You can offer her some resources, but there's really nothing you can do. That was a very, very tough lesson for me. I didn't understand that. Now, that led to my going to probably 12 years of Codependence Anonymous because I had a lot of work to do. And so, needless to say, when I got the call that Tasha had committed suicide, I was absolutely devastated. I had just seen her 2 months before. She was in Madison visiting, and we had a great time. And the last time I talked to her, it was 12 days before when she emailed to say she was really excited to be coming. She was going to come and stay with us for Easter. And we already had booked our massages. We were going to go to a friend's farm, and we had already started to plan. And so I felt blindsided because I felt that Tasha was finally in a good place. Now, for the months, the years afterwards, I struggled to understand. I struggled to know, was this my responsibility? Was this my fault? I had over the course of our 22 years of friendships, many times after talking to therapists and going to my codependence meeting and support groups, I had shared with her that I was worried about her and asked how she was doing. And I said, to notice my kitties stretching in the background. And I said, is there anything I can do? And when she wasn't in her deep, dark funk, she would say, no, there's nothing you can do. Would you tell me, would you reach out if I can help in any way? And she said, absolutely. Now, I went back, as I was preparing for her memorial service. I spoke at her service, and when after she died, I drove to Toronto and spent a week cleaning out her house, and it was a 3-story house, and I was shocked when I got there because there were unopened letters from me, care packages from my daughters to Auntie Tasha. The depth of her despair and depression became very clear to me being in her space. There were unpaid bills for months and months. And I went back and looked at some of her emails to me over the years, and I wanted to share some with you. Starting, the first one I've got here is November 2006. She says, I'm starting to emerge from the hole I've been in for the last several years, and I'm so looking forward to catching up with you and having a life. 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation points. June of 2007. Sorry, I kind of checked out for a while there. Still have my ups and downs. January 2008. I think I mentioned when I saw you I was bummed about work. It drives me nuts. I have such highs and lows. Anyway, I'm back on track. My New Year's resolutions were to check email every day, have no late assignments, and do a better job of communicating with my boss. So far, so good. June 2008. I bought an eye patch today so I wouldn't burn my eyeball fishing after my eye surgery. Sexy pirate is my new look. August 2008. Sorry I've been out of touch lately. Hibernating a little bit, I guess. September 2009. I'm still having my usual ups and downs. Made a big step yesterday and saw a doctor for the first time in years. I'm giving antidepressants another try. Gotta do something, you know. October 2009. As I approach 40, I'm realizing I need to take better care of my body. Bought my first pair of tennis shoes since high school a month ago. Unfortunately, they're still in the box. Started working out 20 minutes a day, though, a couple months ago, and eating better. Good payback so far. There might be something to this healthy living thing, Darce. December 2009. Oh, my dear, I have so much to fill you in on. I've been making up for living like a hermit for 15 years. January 2010. I'm so lucky to have you as a friend. Thanks for your support. I'm pretty much aware that this is the sort of thing that can send me into the depths of depression, so I'm trying to deal with it head on. It helps a lot having my dad and yourself. I just feel like such a jerk. November 2010. Things are sucking right now, and I'm in total hibernation mode. It's long and complicated. I'm supremely lucky to have you in my life, and I'm grateful to you for our continued friendship. January 2011. Daisy. That's what her nickname for me. It means so much to me that you're my friend. I'm so lucky to have you in my life. Hope we can get together sooner rather than later. Well, we did get together. We got together 4 weeks later, and that was last time I saw her. April 5th, 2011. This is the handwritten suicide note that was found with her body in her home. I'm so sorry. I just can't do it anymore. I've been miserable for so long. I don't have the strength to try to make things better. I hate myself for all the pain I've caused those around me. I hate myself even more for this final choice, which I know will cause further hurt. To those that love me, please know that there is absolutely nothing anyone could have done to change things. Many people have tried so hard to help me, but I just kept pushing you away. I've been on a course of self-destruction for many years, and I finally reached the end. I'm so sorry I'm leaving such a mess for you to clean up. Just so tired and unhappy. Clearly, Tasha had her struggles. She had her ups and downs, and it was more than I could even comprehend. I started to understand it better after going to many SOS meetings, survivors of suicide. And I started to understand that this was Tasha's choice. And I came eventually to a place of peace with it because I was able to speak my truth with her. And that's one of the reasons that made me think of this today. And not only the anniversary of her death last week, but doing this balanced conversations last week where we're talking about having the courage to state your truth and having the compassion to do it in a way that the other person could receive it. Tasha taught me the importance of that. And since her death, I have had several occasions where I've had friends come to me in the depths of despair and depression saying how sad they were about something. And I have had the courage, I didn't before, but I've had the courage to say, are you at risk of hurting yourself? Are you going to commit suicide? I had the courage to ask directly what I did not have the courage to ask Tasha. And one of my friends who was pretty low, he said, no, oh God, no, of course not. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, can we make a deal? And he said, what's that? And I said, if you ever are, would you call me? Or would you call someone in that moment and get some help? And he's like, yeah, of course. My gosh, no problem. Of course, I'll promise that to you. Well, about a year later, I got a call from his wife saying that her husband was in the hospital. And I said, what? Oh my God, is he okay? She said, yeah, he is okay, but he was going to commit suicide. And he got that close. And he remembered the promise that you made to you. And he called the hotline. And he checked himself in. And he's in the hospital. Now, that was years ago. And he's doing well, and he's healthy and happy, and he's on antidepressants. And I tell that story because I want to share with you how important it is to trust your gut, to speak your truth, to be bold, to be courageous, and to be compassionate. That might be in something that's as intense as depression and suicide, or it might be something where somebody says something to you that sort of hits you the wrong way, and instead of ignoring it and letting it go and maybe letting it fester, you might say in the moment, even playfully, like, oh, ouch, that hurt. What's going on? What's happening? It sounds like you're kind of upset. To have the courage to be truthful, to speak to people in the moment, to say what needs to be said, because it's so important. And it's part of being thoughtfully fit. It's part of having the strength to consciously choose how you're going to show up in your relationships. So I'm going to leave you today with a poem that I found when I was attending some of these SOS meetings. This was actually from a newsletter from April of 2010, an SOS newsletter. And it's titled Responsibility. I have a responsibility to those I love, to be loving, patient, considerate, and kind, to be loyal, respectful, and honest, to be appreciative, encouraging, and comforting, to share myself and care for myself, to be the best possible me. But I am not responsible for them, not for their achievements, successes, or triumphs, not for their joy, gratification, or fulfillment, not for their defeats, failures, or disappointments, not for their thoughts, choices, or mistakes, and not for their suicide. For had I been responsible, this death would not have occurred. I thank you for letting me share this very personal story with you today. And my challenge to you, my weekly workout, is to state your truth, to have the courage to be present in your relationships, to say what needs to be said, and to do it in a loving, compassionate, kind, thoughtful, considerate way. I wish you the very best. And for those of you who have also experienced a loved one, a friend, a family member who's committed suicide, know that I'm with you, and I send my prayers and love for healing and support. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next week for our Facebook Live Thoughtfully Fit Thursday.